This episode of the Matt Report is brought to you by SearchWP. Find them at searchwp.com. I'm excited to bring SearchWP back because they have something new for all of us. Version 4.1 has arrived. Version 4.1 of SearchWP brings us great new features like improvements to comment data search, significant indexer improvements like content and data that are indexed into the search are much more efficient now. Search results are even better, if you can believe it. And hold on, let me read you a line straight from SearchWP.com's product update. And I quote, "An update has been made to SearchWP's ability to work with regular expression pattern matches that improve the way SearchWP works with search strings." I don't know what it means. I just know my search results are going to get better. Make your WordPress search results better by using SearchWP.com. SearchWP.com now with version 4.1 improvements. Still at the same great price. SearchWP.com. I'm excited to have a new podcast sponsor this week. Welcome MindSize to the Matt Report sponsorship family. You can find them at mindsize.com. They're a full-service digital agency with a focus on WordPress plus WooCommerce. But the fun doesn't stop there because they can help with strategy and other technologies like Shopify, or even be your white label agency solution. MindSize, well, they do it all. And hey, if you're listening to this and you're a WordPress consultant in over your head, my God, I've been there, on a really large WooCommerce site, or you're some direct-to-consumer brand that managed to get through the holiday season on duct tape and a web host that said, go and ask your developer. Well, now you can. You can ask MindSize. They have a fully featured audit for WooCommerce sites to analyze your web hosting infrastructure, your WordPress code, and even run reports through New Relic and tools to make data-driven decisions. Stop the guesswork. Blow your e-commerce mind with MindSize Site Performance Audit. Get it today at mindsize.com, mindsize.com. Thanks for supporting the show. We're back with another fine episode of the Matt Report podcast. Thanks for tuning in as always. Don't forget to subscribe over at mattreport.com/subscribe because there's a new podcast coming. I'll hint at it a little bit today, give you the loose backstory on how this all came together, but it's coming. mattreport.com/subscribe so you can be the first to know. Other things we'll hit on today is my upcoming interview with Matt Mullenweg, simplifying my WordPress branding, predicting freelancer e-commerce, and some thoughts on the podcasting world, if we get to it, if we have time. But first, let's kick it off with a quick story about my role at Castos as Director of Podcaster Success. Currently wearing a lot of hats in this role as a director, as a marketer, account executive, and a content creator. And I should preface this by saying, look, this is not a venting session. I love my job, and I knew what I was getting into. It's actually what really made me want to do this job to begin with. Even though the description is fairly, you're thinking it's just a customer success role, at least in my current form, it's a lot of things. So all of which led to a customer certain level of success here at the company, right? That's what all of this is supposed to do. It's supposed to lead a customer to have a certain level of success. And with podcasting, I guess with maybe a lot of products, there's many different levels of success. It's hard to say, which one outcome it makes it successful for a customer, because you have so many different types of podcasters. You have the hobbyist podcaster, so success for them is like they can figure this stuff out, they know how to do it, and they're good. They're backed up by a great support team. And then you have others that are trying to turn their brand or marketing brand into a business, right? And they're trying to monetize a podcast. So people have different needs there. And then there's the enterprise level of podcasting where generally it's, they are using podcasting to educate and inform their company, right? So various levels. But I'm going on 6 months in this role and really begin to smooth out the edges of everything, which is like an interesting process for me because largely my brain is like half an owner and half an employee. Like I know what it's like to run a company. I know what it's like to think about product. I know what it's like to think about customers. I know what it's like to think about scaling this and supporting it and selling it and marketing it. But at the same time, like I am an employee. I don't have control over everything, rightfully so. And I have things I have to do, meaning, there are goals that Craig, my boss, wants me to achieve, and then there's introducing new things in the business. So it's this healthy mix that I'm lucky enough to have with Craig as a boss. So it's this interesting role, and it's a benefit and a curse, I guess, at the same time. And I'm largely bringing this up today for a couple of reasons, because I want to think about marketing in a different way. But maybe those of you who have taken on new roles, running your own business, doing your own thing, was a little bit too overwhelming for the current situation in your life, which it was for me. And you have your day job and you have your side hustles, and I think that's awesome. And I think a lot of us are going to be that way in the future. But anyway, this could be a whole new way of thinking about all kinds of things with this role as a director of podcaster success. And it's thinking about how we do all kinds of things, the way we do podcasting, the way we do marketing. It's all of this stuff. But what I have sort of figured out over the last 6-ish months, or almost 6 months, and I've really been trying to put a label on it, like all great marketers do, right? We're trying to figure out a process and put a label on this stuff. I guess if you looked at a pie chart, you'd probably see that most of my day job can hover into the marketing bucket. All right, the bigger piece of the pie chart might be marketing, and then there's support, then there's sales, and then there's ops. But I like to think of this as founder-focused marketing or ownership marketing. In other words, how can I produce content or materials and systems like an owner would, or like my boss Craig would? And what even is that? To me, it's this balance of knowing which content makes the biggest impact for sales, searchability, so that's marketing, brand awareness, also marketing, but largely what a founder would be doing. You get to a certain level or a certain size of employees, and many of you founders are out there already do this, but you start to delegate, you start to relieve yourself of the tasks that you're not optimized for. And well, what do you do at this point? Well, you build brand awareness. It's not just the marketing team's job, because depending on what size you're at, your marketing person might be a part-time outsourced content creator, right? Maybe you don't have a director of marketing. So you're the person in charge of leading that brand awareness. I mean, this is the way that I see it. And I obviously invite you to give me your thoughts on all of this stuff. I hate saying be the face of the organization. We used to jokingly say that at Pagely about me, because I literally had my face on ads. But to me, that detracts from the entire team's effort. But at the same time, it's about being someone that can show up, literally show up and be a face on a podcast or a live stream and represent all areas of the business. Just you're not the person who owns and runs the company. And I think I've seen, if I could pull an example, somebody who might be doing this. This is just another thing about me. This is thinking about another thing here is we always point to examples of people who are doing things at big companies because it sort of justifies this, which is laughable, because I think that there's a lot of people doing amazing things at smaller companies that just don't get the recognition because many of us are just forced to look at big numbers, big titles, big investment, that kind of thing. But David Gerhardt of Privy, it's a Boston-based company just an hour north of me. And he's a CMO, so he's C-suite, but he sort of acts and represents the product and the culture of the company, but he didn't start the company. Maybe he's a founding employee, sub 10. I don't know the size of the company, but it's somebody that can represent that culture, that awareness of a company, but also make an impact on driving traffic and landing sales, and hopefully overall making sure that the customers are satisfied using this stuff. And the reason why I bring this up now is because it's number one, it's like I've been there almost 6 months. It's largely on my brain. I've seen a lot of folks transition into other jobs like myself. There's a lot of worry. There's a lot of feeling like, oh man, I left my day job because of constraints of the market, COVID. You just couldn't make it work. And there's this feeling of like, man, I'm a failure, but that's not it at all. Right? It's this graduation in education, learning something new, being in a new challenging role, and having support around you because there's a whole other, just a whole other company there. You're not doing it by yourself, and there's other people to support you. So that's why I'm bringing it up first and foremost. Like going into 2021, if you're sort of just like mulling around in this, feeling down on yourself on these things, these are not down. This is a chance to learn something new and make your next thing even better. So anyway, I see a lot of solo founders and small product teams also really trying to figure this stuff out. And look, we're still trying to figure it out at Castos, but we have the resources to do it, thankfully. And the knee-jerk reaction is that you outsource like a ghost blogger, someone that manages your social media, and perhaps like a virtual assistant that gets you on a few podcasts here and there. And I'd say that you start hiring somebody that is a great podcaster. Like think about somebody who's a great podcaster or a great YouTuber or a storyteller. Now, this isn't rocket science. I think there's trains of thought that people say to do this anyway. But, bonus points if they can sell your product. And also, by the way, do they love your product first and foremost? Right? Because I love podcasting and I love what Castos can do for podcast creators. Maybe I'm just lucky, but I love what we're building. Of course, I love podcasting, so it's a natural fit. I love what Castos is building. It ties in well with WordPress, obviously with Seriously Simple Podcasting plugin. But founder marketing, I think, has something in it, like a gem that we can latch onto, turn into a thing that opens up a new type of role at small product companies, right? And maybe you as a founder, you're not ready to relieve yourself of that role, and maybe there's not enough resources for you to do that yet. And I'm not even saying that Craig is like passing me the torch in any way. It's just like the way that I approach creating content and making customers success is, at the end of the day, is hopefully I'm aligning expectation. So a big part of my effort right now is creating YouTube content. We're closing in on 500 subscribers. When I joined, there was like 100 something subscribers. And based on like what I know in the YouTube world, I should be able to reach 1,000 subscribers fairly easily. And then there is a pretty sizable domino effect that I feel that once you hit over 1,000, things start to grow even faster. But hopefully the idea is that the content that I'm putting out is aligning expectations for the customers, right? They're finding us through YouTube content because of search, how-to tutorials, how to do things in podcasting. When I pitch Castos, they kind of understand, okay, like I know I'm going to get what I'm going to get, but when I sign up here, and because I'm educating them on what it's like to be a podcaster, hopefully their expectations are trained on that stuff too. And there's no, pushback on the product or the support team because, I'm kind of putting everything out there in the beginning, right? In the content that I'm producing. There's no surprise, like this is not how it works because this is how I'm teaching people how it works. There's no way to hide this stuff. There's no fluff. And you're building trust because they're visually seeing you. They're interacting with you in comments. And YouTube does that really well, and the podcast does that really well. It's a slow road, but I'd love to know how you think of your approach about marketing these days. If you're in this situation, I'd really love to know if that all makes sense and if you're approaching it that way. This is a thing in motion for me. I've never been a director of podcaster success. I don't know many people who have this role from me, but I think it transcends into many different areas, many different types of businesses, especially software, being a SaaS-based business, right? So, some other updates. Like I mentioned, I hinted at a new podcast coming that'll make 3 official podcasts that I run. Well, let's say 3 official podcasts that I run. The Matt Report, Southcoast.fm, which is for my local market, and this new one, which will be coming soon, is very much in the WordPress space. It is all in on the WordPress space. And I think it'll be an interesting practice in branding and positioning as I move this podcast, again, not away from WordPress, but just not the core focus of WordPress. But I can't give up the WordPress stuff by any stretch of the imagination. Which the devil is in the details, because in my the last episode that went out, or 2 episodes ago, I think I put out the I spell it WordPress now, all lowercase, and had generally positive responses from that YouTube video. And we're cooking up the interview with Matt for next week at the time of this recording. So if you hear this and you want me to ask some questions, make sure you leave those questions in the comments of this podcast or on the YouTube channel. But it's going to give me a chance to sort of break away from talking direct WordPress stuff here and focusing a lot more WordPress stuff there. It's going to have a little interesting twist to it. I think you're going to like it. Again, I'm not afraid to launch these things, put them out in public, and see what happens. But I'm excited to get it out. Mid-February. Mid-February. I promise that'll be coming. Back to the video on I spell it WordPress now. Mostly positive. I saw some negative. I saw some podcast episodes or watch some live streams of other folks saying that, boy, Matt really seemed kind of bitter. And yeah, I am. But at the same time, like I prefaced in that video, I was really going to, that was a totally off the cuff. Here are all the thoughts in my head, and let me dump that out, which maybe doesn't go well all the time. But I am, I am frustrated. A lot of people look at it and say, well, we've got all this great stuff. Who cares? Who cares about that WordPress, convoluted WordPress brand? Who cares if they sort of dip their toes in a $5,000 website? It's setting the bar for higher cost websites. It's awesome. I'll tell people to go to WordPress.com for $5,000. It's not that. It's not about the structure of it. It's not about the presentation of it. It goes deeper than that. But I'm not going to reiterate all of that stuff here. The internet's a funny place, and everyone has their opinions, and it's awesome. I don't even think if somebody says, boy, you're just mad at that, it's fine. If that's how you took it, that's okay. That was not the goal of it. And I just learned from that experience and I move on, but it's largely got a lot of likes on that stuff. So it's going to be interesting to talk to Matt and talk about it. Again, a lot of people think that it's this battle. Nah, man, like the whole business thing, I'm good with that. Like I'm so far past that. Like people are like, oh, they're getting into the freelancing game. They're going to take our stuff. Oh, who cares? They're not going to take it. No, it's not even about that. It's not even about that. It's the slow grind of chipping everything away from us until you don't even realize that the whole funnel is pointing at them. Right? It's never one thing. It's the collection of many. And I didn't even put this in my notes for this episode today, but I also saw in Jetpack the other day, I had Jetpack on a website that I was working on. Hit update, whatever, went to go add a plugin from the repo, and Jetpack said, whoa, you know that you can get hacked and that plugins are vulnerable coming from the WordPress repo? Let me or sign up for our protection service. Well, it's like, wait a minute. Didn't you come from the repo? Didn't I get you Jetpack from WordPress.org? You're just trying to sell protection services on the fear factor. And this is what I mean. It's this constant, very subtle, but I'll tell you right now, it'll hit like a ton of bricks one day. You won't even see it coming, even though I've been warning you for years. that suddenly you will install a fresh copy of WordPress.org, and it's either going to come from a fresh copy of WordPress.org or it's going to come from Jetpack, which is always on the recommended page because it's from Automatic and has a high install count, and they have deals with other hosting companies to install it. That when you have that active, it'll happen once full site editing is much more mature. All roads will point to .com or Jetpack services. Again, the experience of WordPress. I've talked about it a million times. I'm not going to repeat it here. I'm looking forward to the interview with Matt. Hopefully. With this new podcast that I have coming up, I'm on constant tug of war with how I want my websites to look, what theme I want to use. I don't want to. At one point in my life, I was like, hey, I like running, Beaver Builder on Matt Report. I love running Generate Press on this other side. And I like trying out, the Theme Isles theme over here. And I'm going to really make a concerted effort to get all of my sites, all to get branding, which they already do. Matt Report has a logo that I launched a couple of years ago. South Coast FM and the We Are Here podcast. We Are Here podcast always had a logo. Now southcoast.fm has a logo. I've revised that site a little bit to clean it all up. And what I'm going to try to do is get all of my sites, the 3 properties, the 3 major podcasting sites, to all come under one sort of look and feel. No more page builders. No Beaver Builder, unfortunately, I don't think. Just trying to keep it as lightweight as possible, using Gutenberg. Just from the sense of I don't want to deal with all these things anymore, which the irony is not lost on me. I was saying for a while that this is where Automatic will win. Is you'll get to a point where you're just like, oh God, I got to install this plugin over here. I got to do that over there. And then you're just like, the heck with it. I'll just run this Gutenberg thing. I'll just install Jetpack. It's got everything in it. And before you know it, that's where they win, which is a fair statement. It's ease of use, which is the hardest thing for WordPress. Anyway, so I'm going to bring all these brands under the same look and feel. And I don't know. That's about all I have in that area. It's just that I really want to have a stronger effort streamlining things, streamlining the brand, and streamlining my accomplishments, because I'm getting to the point now where, I'll have 3 podcasts that I publish every week personally. Then there'll be the audience podcast that I do for Castos, which we share, Craig and I share. And I push a lot of videos out on YouTube for Castos. So that's at least 3 videos a week on YouTube for Castos. I want to push my brand. When you think of me, don't think of me as the WordPress person anymore. Right? Matt is a content creator, and I need to do something with this energy. I need to start to shift the focus of Matt is not just WordPress anymore. It's either content or digital. I don't know what it is yet, but it's the slow effort that you've all been listening to probably for quite some time. And if you're doing this, I'd love to hear what you do to solve these things. How do you rebrand yourself? Did you rebrand yourself in 2021? What works, what doesn't? My good friend of the show, Jason Resnick, is a guy that I really respect, and who's been doing this all over for many years now. I just don't like his football team, which the Buccaneers will be playing in the Super Bowl. Tom Brady going for his 7th Super Bowl win and 10th Super Bowl appearance. So I'll be working all of that, and also kind of retiring other websites. This is what gets me to predicting freelancer e-commerce. I think a lot of us, I've been looking at the no-code space. Gumroad has made this tremendous rebound. I think maybe largely because they got a ton of investments over the last year. But I've been looking in that world, in the info product world. I see a lot of people pushing to Gumroad and doing all these other things and selling things. And I feel like Now, take this with a grain of salt, but I think that we might see, like, everyone should have a WooCommerce site because everyone has a little something that they can sell. And I recently moved store.mattreport.com over to Nexus powered by Liquid Web. I think that's how they say it. Very smooth, very quick, painless process. There's one little thing. Their support helped me out really readily. I think it's like $19 I paid for the year or whatever to host it there. And I'm going to start centralizing all of the payment stuff that I do in content to that website. So if you're going to buy a Matt Report ad, you're going to buy it at the store. If you're going to buy a Matt Report t-shirt, you're going to buy it at the store. If you're going to buy an ad for southcoast.fm and my new podcast, you're going to buy it there. I'm going to transfer over user feedback videos, which has a dedicated website, which I don't do anything with, and is mostly word of mouth at this point anyway. But if you want to buy sort of that process from me, the user feedback videos where I review your product, I review your site, I do a video, I walk through it, I tell you what I like, what I don't like, and maybe how you can improve. It's a consultation session to a degree. We'll just move that to the e-commerce site. And what other things we can sell digitally as creatives, as side hustlers? I think there's a thing there. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll be slowly making that transition. Because I think a lot of us just have stuff that we can sell, and why not quickly put up a site that somebody can go buy something from you? Just makes life a whole heck of a lot easier, right? If you're trying to like launch a business and you're trying to figure out why you can't, well, how about a done for you service? How about a consultant session? There's something that you're really good at, a real good skill that somebody would pay you for. You know, if you're like a newsletter person, well, I mean, is there can I just buy something from you where you quickly look at how I would set things up, like give me some feedback on how I would position a newsletter, maybe give me 12 topics, which gives me a topic for every single month. Like, what is it that you can do? So I think everyone's going to have that sort of thing in the future. You don't have to go out and build an entire site for it, but you can have a collection of these digital products and services that you sell. I could be crazy. It's the way that I'm gonna handle it, and we'll report back to you to see if it works. I was going to get into some of the thoughts on the podcasting world. I'm not going to drill too much deeper on that. We'll save that maybe for another video or podcast episode. I don't know how many of you are really into podcasting, but I just a lot of thoughts on that. Like looking at what people are doing. Podcasting is just exploding. You have all these celebrities and big brands getting into podcasting. You know, and I'm looking at like these big deals that happen, and maybe not so big deals, but you know, one of my favorite shows recently is Talking Sopranos, and you know, I mean, it's the Steve Sciarippa and Michael Imperioli, Christopher from Sopranos. I'm just thinking about, like, you know, there's like a little productions team on the side there. They're probably spending $100,000 a year on that show, but they're doing it probably because they love it. But I've seen other comedians come out to partner up with other comedians, and it's just like, how much money is spent from big brands to just advertise something when they could take that same money, point it to a podcaster who actually loves podcasting and it already does a grassroots movement of podcasting. They take this money. We'll sponsor your show for far less money, and it won't just be like this 12 episode series that just runs and they just look at it and they go, well, we only push 100 pairs of Nikes. It didn't work out for us, but we spent $250,000. All right, let's go back to the drawing board, find something else. And it's just like $250,000 blown. I mean, sure, yeah, people were employed. Somebody got a $10,000 sponsorship check or whatever, but I just think, like, thinking of it, the industry that way. And look, even here's a question I'll bring up to Matt Mullenweg. That is a perfect thing. You have this obscurity with Automatic. What is .com? What is Jetpack? Are they with us? Are they against us? All these fun things. I see zero marketing coming out of .com, advertising, probably because they don't have to. It's a nice position to be in. But there's like 20 WordPress podcasts. Why don't you sponsor them? if you want to really like iron out the brand and smooth things over with the community, go after all these other Wix and Squarespace creators that get all of these ads. Support them, and that's a perfect way to do marketing. Anyway, said I wasn't going to get into it, and I got into it. It's mattreport.com, mattreport.com/subscribe to join the mailing list. I'm looking for fresh people to interview on the show. If that's you, let me know. It's going to be pretty unique. I'm looking to get into the no-code space a lot more, the marketing space a lot more. You have to come to me with something really unique in the WordPress space for me to say yes. Hit me up. Go to mattreport.com/contact, mattreport.com/subscribe. Thanks for listening. See you in the next episode.